Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Then we can be assured that other nations will not treat America with respect, the respect that we deserve.
What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video, and I think it is finally time that we do another video on the one state that, quite frankly, may be the most talked about state in America currently for politics, outside of maybe Texas. Everybody's talking about Texas and the great state of Georgia, and all I will say is this. This is a very interesting state to talk about because while on paper, it seems like Georgia is on its way to become a Democrat stronghold, I'm here to say that I'm starting to wonder that. I'm starting to really question, like, hey, is this really, this Democrat stronghold? And recent poll from a Democrat pollster, by the way, not some, JQP pollster, a Democrat-leaning pollster, shows that something is happening in Georgia that really needs a deep dive into. I know I made a video on this like last year, but this is some interesting data, and I looked more into the exit poll data, some precinct data, all that stuff, because something just doesn't fit right about this Georgia blue narrative, and I looked into it, and you'll be stunned what I found. Now, before we forget, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. So, let's get right into it. Georgia is trending Democrat the past few years. I mean, anybody with a brain knows this has been happening for years, even before Trump. This was happening, right? People that blame Trump for, trending Republican or trending Democrat is a bunch of bullshit. So in 2008, McCain won it by around 5. 2004, Bush won it by around 16.5. So in 1 year, it still trended like 2 or 3 points Democrat. Yes, I know it shifted like 11 points, Democrat, but when you count for the national environment, it was really around a trend of 2 to 3 points. And same deal in 2012, it was really a trend of like a point. Then Trump got in, and it did trend a bit Democrat. But that's not because of Trump. I mean, that's a couple cycles straight of it constantly trending more and more Democrat. And in 2020, a certain Joe Biden, I question the exact result, but he did technically win. And I'm not saying, the F word. I'm just saying, like, let's just ignore that. But the point is this. It's been trending Democrat way before Trump even considered running for office. It's been trending Democrat for years now. And the people that claim that's because of Trump, they don't know context. Yes, it trended more Democrat under Trump, but it's been trending Democrat beforehand. Even if it wasn't for Trump, Georgia would be in the same state it is now, like 10 years later. So whoop-de-frickin-do, 2 cycles earlier. But you get the point. And I thought, okay, this state will eventually trend Democrat. It will eventually become a Democrat stronghold. But the past few couple months, I've been listening to, some of my favorite people like Richard Barris, Robert Barnes, all that stuff, Inside the Numbers, all of that. And they've been talking a lot about, especially Barris, about how, like, Georgia is very Republican based on the voter file. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's right that it's way more Republican than we thought. But still, it's like, there's no way that this state's gonna go Republican again. Well, then I saw some polls come out with Trump up by 3 or 4 points, Walker up by 3 to 4 points. Then this one poll came out, alright, by a Democrat-leaning pollster. Trump is beating Biden by a lot. I mean, look at this. Trump leads 52 to 37 among those who say they will be voting. Not, maybe voting, that they will be voting. The only issue Trump has is those that are less likely to vote. 34 to 32, he's still winning them, but not by a lot. I mean, you go down here to these crosstabs, it's like, okay, it's nearly identical to how the state, looks demographically. And you go down here to the Senate race, and once again, it's Walker. Walker is crushing it with the people that are for sure going to vote on election day. And those that are probably voting, they lean Democrat. You notice a trend here. A very noticeable trend that those that are definitely voting, Republicans lead by a lot. They lead by a ton, about 5 or 6 points. For Georgia standards, I thought that the state was gone. But he's winning by 5 to 6 points. I know Walker is a legend there, but still. And the ones that he's struggling with are the less likely voters. And even so, you go down here, same thing. Trump wins by around 25 points. He wins probably voting by 2 points. So what does this really say, though, about the state? Well, put it simply, my opinion is this. What has happened the past couple of cycles has not just been, population growth. It's been absurd. Absolutely absurd election turnout. I mean, the turnout in 2016 and 2020, the growth of it, was some of the craziest we've ever seen out of some of these states. So this idea that, it's just because it's, becoming more minority, well, that doesn't add up because, yeah, it's growing quickly. But still, I mean, a lot of these places, the turnout increased dramatically. And if you take into account what happened in 2020 with, higher voter turnout, there's a couple 100,000 votes for Biden that probably wouldn't have voted if it wasn't for the relaxed election rules. Again, I'm not saying F word. I'm just saying that, hey, that's what it looks like. So what does that mean, though? Well, I think there's more to the story that the higher turnout that Georgia's had over the past couple of years, dirty voter rolls, all that stuff, has accumulated to a constant trend towards the Democrats. Again, I'm not alleging anything. I'm just saying that, well, there may be some crap going on there, but still, I'm just saying that the higher turnout, right? Some higher turnout that's impossible to replicate. Even with population growth, there's no way that Georgia's having 2020 turnout again. You take into account a lot of voters that wouldn't have voted for Biden that did in 2020. They're definitely not gonna vote for him in 24. Trump would have won the state by a lot. Closer to maybe like Bush 2000 margins. So again, I'm not saying margin, I'm saying like total votes. So you take all that into account, and the real question is this: where did this idea that the demographics that are changing in Georgia is the number one reason that the state's trending Democrat? Well, again, it comes down to some demographic data, obviously. And you do see a trend. In 2008, whites were 65% of the vote. 2016, they were 60%. But then in 2020, something changed. It was 61%. You heard that right. From 2016 to 2020, it actually went up. The black vote went down. The Latino vote exploded. So you take that into account and you realize that Latino voters, right, they are one of the faster growing groups in Georgia. 3% in 2008 to 7% in 2020 are also the most Republican trending. And even look at the black vote. It became a bit more Republican. The only voter group that became more Democrat over this time is the white voting group. And again, exit polls are not perfect, all right? They definitely have major issues, but they do overall demonstrate a trend here. That white voters just got slightly more Democrat in the state of Georgia, but every other voting group got substantially more Republican. And again, what happened in 2020 is nearly impossible to replicate. The white vote, in my opinion, personally got inflated by, a lot of voters that hated the orange man but did not want to vote for Biden, but they realized how easy it was to vote and they voted. So that's why I believe that this white vote was inflated for Biden. They're not going to be able to replicate that again in 2024. So, exactly what does this mean for Georgia's future? Again, I'm not saying that it's going to be a Republican stronghold again. But the demographic data even indicates that even the turnout shows that it's becoming a bit more white, more Latino, less Asian, less black. That's a perfect combination. Now, again, Republicans have to capitalize on the Latino vote. If they do, they could seriously, save Georgia. That's what's, making it trend Democrat is definitely the Latino population. But if they could stop that via, appealing to Latino voters via social conservatism, economically based policies, they could seriously save Georgia. And again, don't try for the black vote. It's not going to happen. The Latino and the white vote, I mean, that's 68% of the population. Just split the Latinos 50-50, just like this poll shows. I mean, you go down here to the orange man, and, well, Trump's winning the Latino vote. So that's what you got to do to save Georgia. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be a safe Republican state, but it is potential that this state could be saved, short term. It could become the next North Carolina where it leans Republican every single year. Again, it just comes down to Republicans get smarter, and if this trend of, white and Latino voters are actually going up in Georgia while black voters are going down percentage-wise. Again, for turnout. I'm not saying for population, I'm just saying for turnout. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.